Dwight Howard had been one of the players, as you mentioned, that was so vocal about trying to capitalize on the opportunity that a lot of black and brown players and athletes and people in general feel like there is to continue all the positive momentum that's been building off of some tragic events, some push towards true attempts at equality in all of this. So Dwight Howard said, in addition to acknowledging that, hey, you know what, the competitive aspect of this matters to me, he also said he's going to be donating the remaining portion of his salary, which is about $700,000, to a cause that promotes racial equality that's near and dear to his heart. So he's doing what I think we imagined a lot of players are going to try and do in this, try and strike a balance between all the parts of you that are going back into this bubble.
And again, there are a lot of people that are going into this situation with very different expectations. If you're the Lakers, if you're the Clippers, if you're the Bucks, if you're the Celtics, if you're the Sixers, maybe even the Heat with what they've been playing with Jimmy Butler, you're thinking we can win this damn thing. Other players are not in that situation, and a lot of people are also thinking about the idea of what we're going to be able to do, because there was a lot of discussion about should we even continue or even go down in there because of the momentum that it suddenly created so much sweeping change across the country in how people are perceived and what we can do to keep that momentum, to make sure it's not a moment, but make sure it's a movement going forward. And one of the things that the NBA has said they're going to do, you're going to see Black Lives Matter on the courts, and players are going to be allowed to put things on the back of their jerseys. But Mike Scott, the 76ers forward, was a little concerned about what you are and are not allowed to put on your jerseys.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know how. I mean, they gave us some names and phrases to put on the back of jerseys. That was terrible. It was just it's a bad list, bad choice. They didn't give players a chance to voice their opinion on. They just gave us a list to pick from. So I mean that was bad. That's terrible.
You know what? It's a testament to what the NBA has built in the way of goodwill leading up to this, where I say, man, I hope that's not true, and that maybe, he just got some bad information, or that, Chris Paul and LeBron James and the others that are such an integral part of this league were surely consulted on this. But if they weren't, that's obviously a huge miss. And this has been a tougher time period for the NBA to try and go through and operate as normal, where they're usually universally lauded. Like, they've had missteps along the way in all this. And if this is true, that is absolutely a miss if you did not consult the players who had voiced their concerns on this. Again, the NBA has built up so much goodwill that I'm inclined to give them some benefit of the doubt because it feels earned with them. But if we're going to take, if we're going to take Mike Scott at his word here in this, then it's got to be a bit concerning. Yeah.
So what is realistic and what was possible is sort of the question we're trying to figure out. Malik Andrews, who we had on yesterday with us, was also on Spain and Company yesterday. She is inside the NBA bubble, and she sort of talked to people around the NBA, and here's what she said, why the NBA can't allow players to just sort of put anything on the back of their jerseys.
I think that for the time frame within which the NBA was working, they decided that they couldn't get the permission that they thought they needed to get from individual families in order to have those names on it. That's one of the things that they're saying. Now, obviously, this is a league that has done a very good job of marketing itself worldwide. And so, of course, when it comes to these messages, Sarah, as both you and I know, the NBA is a very progressive league. They stand behind Black Lives Matter. They stand behind ending police brutality, especially as it is disproportionate to Black Americans. That being said, this is a business, and this is a business that needs to make money. And anything that infringes upon that is something that they are going to be careful of. And so you're seeing them set those extra guidelines.
So, Golic and Wingo is presented by Progressive Insurance. Cars, homes, boats, motorcycles, RVs, and more at Progressive.com. I understand why, and there are a number of reasons why it couldn't be a free-for-all where players could just put whatever they wanted on the back of their jerseys without any sort of oversight or review or anything like that. I think there's a big middle ground here between the two ideas, though, of consulting the players, especially consulting the strong leadership that you've got in the NBA, and trying to get some consensus on, here are the messages that we're comfortable having out there. We're obviously going to have a conversation because they trust Adam Silver, they trust the league office, there's a relationship there, but the players at least better have had input on what went into these names.
Well, yeah, look, and I don't know, and I haven't been able to find that out yet, but as you said, Junior, we're talking about a league that is probably the most progressive when it comes to listening to their players and talking to their players. I mean, I find it hard to believe that they would just absolutely say in any way, shape, or form, yeah, we didn't talk to them at all.
No, but you know what? It's also worth constantly reviewing this idea that just because you've acted right on certain instances in the past doesn't mean you're always going to get it right. And especially now where Malika said there is the tension of this is also still a business, and we can't expect businesses, even ones like the NBA, to act morally all the time because we know it's not always going to be financially beneficial for them. The NBA has been in the fortunate spot where in most instances the morality is lined up with what their fan base certainly is in tune with and what their players all want in this, and so it hasn't been really a decision that they get to make. And so in the instances where they get to make a decision, we have to remind ourselves that first and foremost they are a business.
Yeah. By the way, the Undefeated's Mark Spears reported Friday that the NBA and the Players Association had agreed, so the two of them together had agreed to a list of suggested messages. Speaking on a separate call Monday, Celtics guard Jaylen Brown had a few other suggestions that he wished the league would have allowed players to use. But at least, according to what Mark Spears said, there was an agreement between the NBA and the Players Association of a list of suggested messages that could be used. So that does sound like there was a conjunction and a collaboration here.
And that's what we should expect at the bare minimum. Again, like what a fiasco it would have been in a situation where you're trying to encourage players that they will be able to express their feelings on these issues in the bubble, that they will not be forsaking the activism that seems to be important to so many guys and women right now inside the various NBA and WNBA bubbles. So that should be the bare minimum for sure.